Hey girl, hey, this is Tracy, or I am Tracy Chanel. I'm the host of the Hey Girl, Hey podcast where we restore, rise, and reset stories from real women about real life and having real conversations. So just want to let you know this is a safe space for honest stories, healing, growth, and moving forward with purpose. And today we have a special guest, Miss Sequoia Johnson, a global speaker and trainer, and she is the founder of Secoya Speaks. So, Sequoia, I'd like to welcome you today to the Hey Girl, Hey podcast.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited about our time together. We were connected by the phenomenal Coach Keith Brown. So, shout out to him for connecting us, for leading us and guiding us. Um, it's only up from here. As he says, GOODJOB. Good job. Good
Good
job.
job. So amazing.
Yeah, so we're gonna get right into it. I would love for everyone to know who Sequoia is before we talk about any of your accomplishments. Before we talk about any of your titles, who is Sequoia?
Well, Tracy, I'm glad you asked. Sequoia is a phenomenal woman. She's been through so many obstacles in her life, from being adopted as a newborn to losing her mom at 13, going from there to having suicide attempts that night to
Mhm.
guilt having run-ins with juvenile, and ended up in foster care from 14 to 18, signed herself out, faced several other struggles such as homelessness, instability, and uncertainty of where her road was going to go in her journey,
Mm.
to where now she is just this amazing inspiration um, that I am today.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And yes, you are amazing. But I want you to describe your journey, going from surviving to leading with purpose.
Okay.
What did that survival look like for you? Because you said you were adopted as an infant and
Mhm.
then your mother passed. So kind of fill us in there and what that looked like.
Okay. So, Um, as I said, I was adopted as a newborn to my first cousin. My biological mother was a drug addict, so me and my brothers, my biological brothers, we were split up. Um, by the time I was born, I was already adopted. I was about, from what I was told at 3 that I was adopted. Home was wonderful. I had mom, I had dad. They had several foster sisters and brothers that they had gotten for me, up
Mhm.
until I think about age 4, where I told my mom and my dad that I wanted siblings that would stay and not leave me, because I started noticing they would come and then they would go, and I would have different
Right, right.
seasons, so it kinda felt like, "What's going on?" So then my mom and my dad adopted 2 boys,
Mhm.
and they became my brothers, and we just became one happy family. We went on family trips. My mom was a school teacher. My dad was, he worked at a restaurant and then he worked at a hospital. So he was like uh, I wouldn't say he was the head of household, but he was, but he wasn't.
Mhm.
They kind of shared,
Right,
but my mom
right,
was loved
right.
by me. My mom was loved by many, and including me. And we were
Mhm.
very best friends up until the end. In which Imma get into that in just a second.
Yeah.
I faced a lot of, when it came to friends, I didn't have a lot of friends, and it was because I was bullied. There
Mm.
was an incident at my grandmother's house at age 5 when I ran into an ant bed, just playing around in her yard, and I ended up with scars, and they were itching really bad, so I kept scratching, picking at them on my
Yeah.
arms, on my legs, and that's when I found out that I had eczema, and it was a condition that kinda kept irritating, so I had these scars, and you could really notice them, and a lot of the kids in school would pick on me about that. They would say, "Ew, you got diseases, I don't wanna touch you," or if they
Mhm.
just happen to bump into me or they pat me on the back, they'll go and just wipe their hand off and get some hand sanitizer or act as if they're wiping germs on another kid, and that hurt my
Mhm.
feelings a lot, and I
Of
went through
course.
that.
Yeah.
I went through that from ages, well, from grade 1st grade all the way to 5th grade, which it ended in 5th grade, um,
Mhm.
'cause I had a moment where me and my mom had a conversation, and I asked her because I was being called ugly and all this other stuff, like diseased and germy. So I asked my mom
Mhm.
if I was ugly. I asked my mom if I had just had diseases, if these scars on my arms were a disease because nobody wanted to
Mhm.
play with me, nobody wanted to be around me, and it was hurting my feelings. And my mom just sat there for a moment. And that moment kind of took a little wind out of her. She didn't expect that to come out. And that's when she started
Mhm.
telling me, no, what's happening, what's going on, and why didn't you keep coming to my room for everything else, to my classroom, and you wouldn't come to me about that. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mom, I didn't want you to feel like you had to step in because with me going to the same school as you as where you worked, it was this
Yeah.
thing where I kind of felt like, I can handle this.
Mhm.
But her and my teacher, they were really good friends. My mom was friends with pretty much all the faculty at the school. So
Okay.
they had a good conversation, and it led to an intervention that I felt better about myself a little bit about. Um, because then kids were being nice after. What happened was there was a group of 4 that was the main problems, and
Mhm.
we all went outside of the classroom in the hallway. My mom was standing there, the teacher was standing there, and they
Yeah.
made us get into a line. So in this line, what happened was, I started to my mom made me stand in the front of the line, and
Mhm.
a few of the other kids, one of them, I forgot her name, but she literally was the one that was the most, problematic when it came to this situation.
Mhm.
So, they made her get right behind me, and they made the other kids get behind her, and we had
Okay.
to go down the hallway until they were able to not do the, uh, switching switching positions in line and touching me and pretending to touch themselves, and it taught them they didn't know what was going on until after the fact, and when they got it together, they
Yeah.
had a conversation with them and be like, "How would you feel if someone made fun of you because of scars that you had at
Mhm.
for a situation that happened to you?" And
Right.
they just started looking at one another, and then they bowed their heads down, and 'cause they knew,
Mhm.
and then they apologized to me, and then from then on, they started, becoming my advocate to where they were speaking up when other kids were starting to do what they were doing, and they were like, "Hey, no, don't do that. That's not
I
okay."
love
And
that.
that
Yeah.
for me kinda improved my confidence a little bit.
Mhm.
And it kinda been like, if I keep speaking up for myself when these incidents are happening, then maybe I can feel better about myself, and I don't feel like I'm ugly or anything like that. It did kinda take a while for me to not feel like I was ugly because,
Yeah.
around age 12, 13, I was getting in my little teenage years, and I had just turned 13 when my mom passed away. So,
Mm.
I had a moment where a cousin in the neighborhood came around, and she was the popular kid. So my
Mhm.
mom, we hang out with her, we went to church together and all this other stuff, and I was getting into I wanna say having boyfriends, what you wanna say, whatever you wanna say
Mhm.
about it. And this one boy, he invited me to a birthday party to come see him. I didn't even know who he
Yeah.
was. We were talking on the phone. My mom took me and Ebony. We get there, and all I remember is he looking funny, and I'm not understanding why he's looking funny at me.
Yeah.
Um, and then that following Sunday, that's when it hit. Because everybody on the church bus, all the kids on the church bus was talking to him and talking to my cousin, and then I was like, "What's
Mhm.
going on?" And he just blurted out on the church bus, "You're ugly."
What?
So that messed with me, and I was like, "I'm not ugly. You are ugly. You are completely ugly. Look at you. I feel bad for your mom." I
How old
was
were you at this time again?
I had just turned 13. It was literally a month
That's
before my mom
crucial,
passed.
yeah. Yeah.
So I told my mom about it, and my mom was like, "I need to talk to this boy's mom." So She made me get in the car, and we had to drive over there,
Yeah.
and his mom loved me and my mom, so,
Right.
um, she made him apologize to me, and that was that, but then it was still a thing where I was still being called
Yeah.
my cousin started
Yeah.
doing the same thing to where she started plotting on me a bit, just not on purpose, but we got into it a few times, and
Yeah.
it was because I was starting to feel, like, kinda insecure, and she was trying to get me to not feel insecure, but then, when she got around certain people, that's when the whole bullying thing started again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but there was a moment, where all of that kinda changed her perspective of me, um,
Mhm.
and it really changed my perspective of her. There
Absolutely.
what happened was, 3 weeks before my mom passed, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Um, she had called us out, she checked us out of school, me and my 2 brothers. We went to
Mhm.
McDonald's. She sat us down at home, and she broke the news to us. She's like, "How would you feel if I told you guys that something is wrong with me that could
Yeah.
possibly take me away from y'all forever?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they were looking at her
Yeah.
crazy. And she was like, "I have cancer." And I was like, "Are you serious?"
Mhm.
Um, and for me, it took a lot out of me. I didn't know what to do. I was like instantly like, "Oh my God, like what's going on?" Like my mom wasn't feeling well, and all I knew was she had diabetes, but I was like, "How did diabetes turn into cancer?" um,
Right, right, right.
So that night, like, I was asking my mom all these questions, especially when my brothers was asleep. I was like, "So, what does that mean? How long do you have to live?" She's like, "Don't worry about it. The doctor said that I'm like going to treatment next week. You can actually come with me for the first treatment, and we'll see how it goes. And just know that God got me. I'm gonna be okay. There's nothing for you to worry about." And I was like, "Okay, mom." However,
Yeah.
I to the bedroom when it was time for me to go to bed, I shut the door and all I did was cry. I cried because it's
Yeah.
like, this is my best friend that I'm losing.
Right.
And what would happen to me? What would happen to my brothers? What would happen to my dad if it happened? But when it really hit was when I went to her treatment with her and I sat there and I was watching her and she drifted off to sleep and I was like, this is really happening, like, my mama's going through
Yeah.
so I'm not even understanding what's going on. We're just now getting to a point where I'm learning all this stuff about being a teenager, being going into
Right.
woman almost, like, learning how to cook and how to clean the house properly, how to do this, how to do that. It's so much that I
Right.
learned. Even I really started watching movies that kind of talked about different things that happen to women that's not okay, like with sex
Mhm.
and being taken advantage of, and
Right.
I didn't understand that. So
Yeah.
3 weeks goes by. We're in November. This is November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving, but Imma start with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, my mama wasn't feeling up to it. My mama was big on baking before the holidays, and I was known for helping her. I even made a cake.
Mhm. Okay.
Because that was kinda her thing. But this particular, Thanksgiving, it was different. Her energy was just all over the place. Her eyes were black, everything.
Oh,
It was horrible.
wow.
So we went to my
Oh,
granny's
my.
house, like we always did. Little did I know that my granny and my mom had disappeared away from everybody because I'm always, like, around my cousins and my uncles and my dad. This is the moment that where I get to bond with them. So I
Right.
had no idea that they had, like, a little separate meeting to themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and next thing I know, we're going home. We're watching TV, settling down. And my mom asked me to come help her make the bed. So we're in her room making the bed, and she was like, I don't know how to put this to you, but how would you feel if something actually did happen? Like if this cancer did take me away from you? I
Yeah.
was like, "Let's not even talk about that because that's not even gonna happen. You even told me you were gonna be fine, ma'am."
Yeah, trying to process all of this.
Yes. And she was like, "Well, yes, however, I do wanna talk about it with you because I am worried about what's gonna happen with you and your brothers and your
Yeah,
dad. For one, you already know your dad is gonna be working all the time, and I don't even know which family member who I really want y'all to be with at that time, and I'm worried." I was like, "Mom, I feel like we'll be okay. I feel like the family will come through. We have cousins that
yeah.
love us." And she was like, "Okay." So we just, finished making the bed. I was like, "I just wanted to be in this moment, Mom. I don't wanna think about that. I don't wanna think about it."
Mhm.
And I went back into my room and I cried again because I was like, "What is she talking about? What is going on?" Like, she's only talking in riddles to me, and it's not making any sense.
Right.
So the next morning, Black Friday, we normally get up and we go to the mall. First is me and her.
Mhm.
We take about an hour or two at Arbor Place Mall in Douglasville. And then she'll go and get my brothers, and then my dad will take us to go get her gift and so on.
Mhm.
This morning, I get up. I'm used to like smelling like bacon and eggs, whether it's my mom or my dad. But this morning, it just felt felt dull. So the first
Mm.
thing I do is go in my mom's room. I'm seeing her hunched over in the bed. Um,
Oh,
and she's not feeling good. I was like, "Okay, so do you want me to call dad? Do you want me to call anybody? Do you want to go to the doctor?" She was like, "No, I just want to lay here and take a nap." Okay. My cousin Ebony comes over. It's the same cousin
mhm.
that I said before I went to the party and all that stuff.
Right, the
She
bullying.
comes
Mhm.
over, we're watching TV. Out of nowhere, my brother AJ comes and he's like, "Where's mom?" I was like, "In the room laying down." So he goes and runs, like, I don't even know what's going on at this point. I'm going
Yeah,
behind him because I was trying to tell him he doesn't feel good. I open
right.
the door and he's laying next to her crying, talking about, "Mommy, don't leave me, don't die on me." And my brother has bipolar and ADHD.
Okay.
So at this time he was like staying at home with us before we had to take him back to Willowbrook at the time.
Okay.
So he was crying. I had no idea what was going on with him and why he was saying all these things. And I was like, wait, did she have the same conversation with him? But I'm like, that doesn't make sense because they were asleep by the time we finished that conversation the night before.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and all she kept doing was kind of trying to, but she was barely patting him because she wasn't feeling good and trying to hunch her stomach
Mhm.
or her stomach.
Yeah. No
Um,
strength.
and then she was saying that it's gonna be okay. I'm like, okay. I just need to rest a little bit. I need to rest a little bit. Don't cry. And then he's like, okay, gives her a kiss, comes to me, gives me a hug, and be
Mhm.
like, watch mom, make sure nothing happens to her. I'm like, "Okay, nothing's gonna happen. I got her. She'll be
Yeah.
fine. I
Yeah.
got this. I know how to make that chicken broth that she's that can help make her feel better a little bit." But I'm like, so he went back to go play, and I'm back in the living room watching TV. Next thing I know, I'm hearing her call my name. I'm running to the door. I'm like, "Mom, what's going on?" She said, "I need to talk to your granny." I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." Grab the door. Let me grab the phone. I grabbed the phone. At that time they had like a maybe 4 or 5 minute conversation. And after this conversation, I'm grabbing the phone, putting it back on the receiver. She says she wants to lay down, give her about an hour, and then we can get up and get going like we normally do. Not even 6 minutes passes, and she's calling me again. I was like, okay, what's going on, mom?
Wow.
I definitely need to talk to Granny. Okay. So I'm grabbing the phone. Ebony's looking at me like I'm crazy, and she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "She needs to talk to my granny, but I don't know what's going on. I kind of want to listen in, but I don't want to listen in."
Right. Right.
Uh,
Of course.
so I hand the phone to my mom. Ebony grabs the phone, not sure of what she's hearing because I'm seeing her facial expressions change, and she's not
Mhm.
telling me anything. I'm like, "Ma'am, I'm over here,
Yeah.
tell me." She's not telling
Yeah.
me. She's looking at me with different expressions. So about 20 minutes later, I grab the phone. My mom says, "Okay, I just need an hour for sure. I'm okay after that."
Mhm. Mhm.
So in about 30 to 45 minutes, I'm thinking to go check on my mom. So I'm going. I'm opening the door. Next thing I see is my mom is laying on her, I believe her left side, facing the open closet in her room.
Mhm.
Her arm is stretched out and there's some white stuff coming out her mouth. So I'm like,
Wow.
Mom, not saying it, the eyes wide open, mouth open. Okay. So I'm like, Mom. So then I'll walk towards her, start feeling, I'm not feeling anything awkward. I don't know what I'm feeling for. So I
Right.
scream for Ebony. Ebony comes running in, does the same thing, and then she starts to look. She has that look, and then she
Mhm.
starts running. And I'm running after. I'm like, wait a minute, chick, what's going on? She's
Yeah.
not talking to me. She's picking up the phone and she's dialing, I believe, 911. It's like, I need help right away. Gives the address, all that. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Before you send police and all that stuff to my house, what is going on? Because I got to call my dad. I got to do this. I got to do that.
Right.
And she did not say anything. She just starts crying, runs out the door, and screams for help. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And I don't really understand what's going on until the our friend from down the street comes, another friend comes, and then she got her mom obviously, because her mom called her phone, her cell phone, and her
Okay.
mom checking.
Okay.
So the our friend and Ebony are putting my mom on the floor from what I'm seeing. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Can y'all at least tell me what's going on? And Ebony's mom is right there behind me, and Ebony's
Mhm.
telling her to try to keep me calm. And I was like, I don't know what I'm being calm for. This is my mom.
Right, right. You didn't know what was really
What?
going on.
Yeah, what are you doing? So, I'm not realizing that they're performing CPR on my mom, the lady. And then next thing I know, she's looking at Ebony, starts crying. Ebony starts crying. I'm starting to cry because I'm like, what is going on with my
Right.
mom? And they're like,
Right.
I'm sorry, sweetie. And I start screaming and I was like, actually, I was like, F no, heck no, this is not happening. My mom's gonna wake up, y'all are tripping. So police is here and it's one of my mom's good friends. And then the ambulance is here and I'm having to be dragged out the house. Literally, because I'm
Wow.
trying to be right there with my mom and police can't even get in and ambulance can't even get in because I'm blocking the door. I didn't really care at this point. I was trying to hold on and try to figure out what's going on. So
Right.
It takes Ebony's mom and Ebony to drag me out the house. And the police is behind me trying to keep me calm. I'm screaming, crying. They're dragging me all the way back towards the church because our house is like right there by the church.
Mhm.
So my brothers come going crazy themselves. So they're having to be held by another police officer. I'm being held by Ebony and her mom. And I have a police officer standing in front of me trying to calm me down, be like, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Not even 2
'Cause how
seconds.
old are your brothers? How old were your brothers at this time?
Okay. So I'm 12. So I believe they're about 7, 8 years
Okay,
old.
so they were younger than you.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were younger than me. Um, so next thing I know, I'm seeing the ambulance come out on it with a stretcher. My mom's covered up in a white sheet all the way over her head. I start
Wow.
screaming. I start going crazy. I'm like, no. I'm crying. I'm like, this cannot be happening. I'm trying to break free. Um, to try to get to my mom, and the police is saying, if you do not calm down, I'm gonna have to handcuff you and you're going to have to come with me until you can calm down. And I was
Right.
like, "This is my mom, though." I'm like,
Right. You want me to stay calm.
"Oh, please let me go before I do something to you."
Right. And as
And
a 12-year-old trying to process everything, the
I had just turned
emotions, what you
13.
see.
I had just turned 13 when this happened. And I was like, "We were just having Thanksgiving dinner, like, this can't be happening." So that
Yeah.
is where a lot of my, a lot of where it started, like, where I became me. And I didn't even realize it. However, later on that night, I didn't want nothing but for everybody to leave the house and
Mhm.
get away from me. I was on the phone with my god brother, and I had a bottle of beer and a bottle of Tylenol, and then I had a butcher knife.
Yeah. Mm.
And that was when I was gonna take my life, and I actually
Mhm.
attempted. Didn't work out.
Mhm.
Um, didn't work out. Uh, and then from then on, it was just like a downward spiral. Like I was intentionally missing school. I was
Mhm.
being, I was running away. I was getting in trouble for running away with the law, getting falling behind my cousin and getting caught up in a lot of things. And yeah, and it took a moment to where an incident with me and my father happened. He got real drunk one night and touched me inappropriately. Is something that I didn't want to talk about.
Right.
I to respect him and everything else. And at that point, I was trying to leave. I was trying to leave anyway. So I was doing everything I could to try to leave.
Should
But
leave.
I was at constantly at a particular friend's house, and they kept wondered if my dad was doing something with me anyway, which I don't know where they got
Mhm.
from. But one night I told them that there was a night where he got drunk and touched me inappropriately on my chest. And he was like, and they were like, wait, did he actually? And I was like, what do you mean when he? And then I was like, well, I guess so. I'm not, I guess. And they
Yeah, you
did
just
it,
your child trying to process.
what was going on. So
Yeah,
At that time, I had, my biological step grandmother gotten in contact with me and had no idea that had happened. So,
yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking that everything that they're telling me is what is actually what happened. So,
Mhm.
it goes from there. I end up leaving with my step grandmother and a probation officer calling me, my dad calling me, and it gets to a
Mhm.
point where everything is miscommunicated because I didn't understand what I was actually saying.
So did you it I'm just, listening to your story, it was like a whirlwind of things happening, but at what point did you ever have an advocate for you? Someone that could step in and be your voice? Was
The
there
advocate I
at
had
any point?
the advocate I had at that time was my step-grandmother.
Mm,
She was my advocate from the moment I went into foster care. I had to go into foster care because she couldn't take care of me. There was something
okay.
going on with her to where defects wouldn't allow her.
Yeah.
But they were trying to find ways to get me out. So when I ended up in the group home, didn't work out. Ended up getting arrested because I got into it. I had a mental breakdown and
Mhm.
I hit a staff. This was like maybe 4 months after I got in there.
Yeah.
I hit her and got in trouble. Ended up
Mhm.
leaving and going to different mental facilities because I was not mentally myself.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
and my grandmother stayed my advocate, and then my probation officer stayed my advocate. And
Okay.
my probation officer was kinda like, I wanna say she was like that mama figure to me because she was the
Okay.
only one that knew what was going on and knew that the incident that I was talking about wasn't as exaggerated as it gotten exaggerated, and I allowed myself to let it get exaggerated, so
Yeah.
it took a lot for me to, like, kinda forgive myself for that, but then I had to understand that while the incident that really happened kinda got miscommunicated,
Yeah, of
this was my
course.
opportunity to learn what was actually going on and what the difference between what was said and actually what happened was, um, to where now I don't even talk about it, I let it go because I didn't heal from it. It's
Yeah.
not even
Right.
in
Thank God for that. Yes.
but when I signed myself out at 18, that was when I realized that my advocate that I thought was my advocate was not my
Mm.
advocate.
Wow.
I realized that um a lot of it was because of a check. And when I got put out, just for simply me and her husband at the time getting into
Mhm.
it over something simple, I was like, wow, because I wanted to have that communication, that moment, that family time that I missed out on. And I still wanted
Yeah.
that bond that I was yearning for. And I couldn't get it because y'all were in the room and I had to be in my room. And I had all this
Uh-huh.
stuff around me and I shouldn't have no reason to need extra attention. Okay,
Wow.
so forward, I ended up staying with my aunt, thinking my aunt was my advocate. Mm-mm. Come to find out, I heard through the grapevine that um uh, that she was actually working on trying to get me on disability,
Again for another
and
check.
I did another check because the other check ran out and I was working a job because you literally told me how I was 19 and I should be working or everything else. After I advocated to get back into high school at
Yeah.
18, I was still turning 19. Months go by and I'm miserable because I'm like trying to navigate being back in school, trying to feel normal because I'm in a special ed classroom. When I was in
Right.
school before my mom passed, I was in a normal classroom, but just going to IEP
Mhm.
classes here and there. But
Mhm.
no, this I'm like isolated from everybody, so I feel isolated.
Right. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so not even this was like maybe 2 months after Christmas is when I noticed that that I was just not feeling it. So me and my cousin get into a argument that turns into a fight. I get put out because my aunt said that I was going to be a murderer and dangerous and all this other stuff because everything that I was holding in then came
What
all the way
is
out.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
So
it's
I
thank God for your mother, who was your biggest advocate, your biggest protector. Um, of course, being an educator, she was knowledgeable and she would fight for you. Just listening to your
Mhm.
story, and it's really unfortunate that people that were quote unquote family that you trusted as a child, that you it sounds like at some point admired and you just loved to be around because you all were family, it turned out to be something completely different to benefit off of your pain, to benefit off of whatever um things you were lacking, because as a child that's a lot to process. Mentally and emotionally, a lot to process. And that's why I asked, who was your advocate after your mom? So,
it was supposedly my step grandmother until I realized it wasn't, and then I thought it was
right,
my aunt, and then it
right,
wasn't.
right,
So I
right,
had to advocate within myself. And as I was staying with her client, because she was a home health person, and I had to pay $60 a week, but I wasn't working like that. I was calling out a lot because I was in school and I wanted to be in high
right.
school. I didn't want
Be a
to do
teenager.
all of that. So right after graduation, I get put out and I was staying with a so-called friend. This friend, it was hell staying with her. I only
Um,
lasted a week. She was pushing me down the stairs, forcing me to have sex with her, all this other stuff, and beating on me and kicking me in the head, and it was just too much. And that's how I ended up going to Covenant
yeah,
House.
yeah,
And
right,
that's where
yeah,
started fighting back and getting her confidence and doing all of this, telling her story and starting to inspire others.
yes. And whew, girl, that's a lot to process. I mean, I can only God, can take us through situations. And again, thank God for your mother, who sounds like she was a phenomenal woman who was loved by so many people. And it sounds like she was very involved in her community. So that there was the foundation of your strength, the foundation of your fight. So how do you take all of that now as a mental health and wellness advocate? How do you take your experience, things that you've been through, and connect it to your professional knowledge to
Well,
help others?
what I did was when I left Covenant House, only lasted there for 6 months. Monique, who had only known me for 6 months, came back and got me and moved me to Florida to where I got to have a brand new start and live and build a
Mhm,
whole life. So it
mhm,
took me going from telling my story about foster care and how I got to Covenant House, to where I started working in mental health at Florida State Hospital. And
okay.
a lot of I was working in the forensic unit, didn't think I would ever work in a mental facility after what I went through, one.
I can imagine.
Um, but to realize that A lot of the individuals, the adults that was there had been through similar things that I went through, and that
Mhm.
because I overcame it, I was able to kinda speak life into them and be like, "Hey, you
Love
don't have."
that.
And even though a lot of them were gonna continue on doing what they're doing, a lot of them actually did try. A lot of them
Yeah.
actually did want. They just had barriers that kept them, but that is when I was like, "You know what? This is what I like. I like helping people. I like
Right.
people, and I wanted to keep doing it." So I'm like, "Let me figure out a way to get into school." But I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think about doing anything in entertainment, journalism, none of
Mhm.
that. Or I wasn't even thinking about doing mental health. I wanted to be
Okay.
a I wanted to be a
Okay.
hematologist and oncologist, but that was after talking to my wife and kind of figuring out what to be because I went from cosmetology school to business school to where I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And along that ride of going to Tallahassee Community College, which is now Tallahassee State College, and realizing the academic load and where I was academically with a high special ed diploma, and not
Mhm.
even realizing that I had to take so many steps to get to where I wanted. Because at first I went straight into apply to Florida A&M University, and And out of a generous, kind-hearted individual who called me, one of the advisors, and stated, "So I see you got this kind of diploma. It says a life skills diploma. What is that?" And I went in and I explained, and I was like, "I am in business schools. Well, I did transfer to. I am in business school online." And she was
Mhm.
like, "Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. If you wanna be a doctor, Imma tell you how to get there." So she
Oh,
introduced
wow.
me to Lassie Community College. That's where I went. I struggled a bit because working at the state hospital and trying to do school, I had to pick between work and school. So I
Right.
had however, when I left Florida State Hospital, which I'm proud of myself because I got promoted within the first 3 years. Within the first 3 years. So I
Because you're
left as
that girl. You're that
I
girl.
left as a dorm supervisor. I left there and went to Appalachian Center, and that's where I finished my AA degree and a general studies degree. And I transferred to Florida A&M, struggled a lot, and it took about 3 years for me to realize where my true passion was. I took a year out
Mhm.
2 years ago now. Back in
Mhm.
2024, I took a year out because I thought I didn't have enough financial aid and I kept failing. So I'm like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
I'm not a failing student. And my wife was like, what's
Yeah.
going on? But at that time, we were going through homelessness again and all this other stuff again.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was like, but I was like, you know what? You're right. No matter what, I am a fighter.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yes.
went back to Appalachian Center because I had quit for a little bit. Went back
Mhm.
and I was talking to my coworkers, talking to the nurse. I was like, I'm passionate about something. I like to help
Yeah.
people. I don't know if
Mhm.
doctor is my thing anymore because I'm not feeling it anymore. And I was
Yeah.
like, I came back to Appalachian Center, which is a mental health facility, forensic unit. And I'm seeing how a lot of the clients here are really trying to put forth a lot of the advice that I'm giving them and telling me how they want to talk to me because what they're feeling in that moment, they don't want to have a moment where they're exploding and then end up going back to jail because
Yeah.
they're so close. And a lot of the clients there, they have charges of all sorts and trying to get back in the community. So that's when I was like, let me look online. Let me look at FAMU and let me see what aligns with Sequoia. So I found social
Love
work.
it.
Found social work. And then I went to FSU because FSU saw had all these different careers that FAMU didn't list exactly. And I was like, counselor, clinical psychologist. I'm like, let me find out what that is.
Yeah.
Figured it out. And I was like, hmm, I can still be a doctor, but I can do it in something that I'm passionate about.
Mhm.
And that's where I found social
That's the
work.
key.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, let me see. Let me figure this out. And
Yeah.
then in January of 2025, I got a letter from uh FAFSA stating Nelnet, stating that I got a lot of my Pell Grant back. I got 3 years of my Pell Grant back
Whoa,
because
what?
the school had closed. So I was
3
like,
years?
"Oh, wow, okay, cool." So I took advantage. I went straight on in. I enrolled, started summer, and now I'm at a point where I entered research when I went into the orientation last fall. I went into the
Mhm,
BSW orientation, and my mentor now, Dr. Jacqueline McMillan, was talking about doing research. She had a foster care research, and she had one for domestic violence. I'm like, you know what? That foster care sounds like me.
mhm.
So I
Yeah.
was talking to her. She's like, wow. And then she was talking about a worldwide mental health day where she partners with She Speaks Solutions, that is a mental health organization. I'm like, you know what? I can get y'all connected with Appalachia. She says, see, there you go, talking like a social worker.
Right.
So I got into the undergraduate Rattler research program, and we did I was doing literature review summaries, and she saw my passionate work, and she loved it. And what she did was we created our own section, our own research that was our
Mhm,
baby, my baby, to where I presented at the FAMU symposium shortly after the NIAR conference, where I met Keith L. Brown. I met him
mhm.
because I had another professor and Dr. McMillan believe in me enough to where I told him a snippet of my story, and I made a bold move. I'm not gonna lie. I was a star monitor at NIR back in March, this past March, and
Yeah.
I switched to his room, and all I saw was people talking, like Dr. Parks and a few others, and I was like, wow,
Right.
like that is
You said,
me.
"That's me. That's for me."
That's me. So
Yeah.
I didn't even know Keith was Keith until, because she talked about him in class briefly, but then the night that me and a few girls hung out in Savannah, he saw the back of my shirt and said, um, Department of Social Work, FAMU, Rattlers. I was
He
I'm
called you out.
Yeah, I was like, "Wait, yeah, you." And then he was like, "Michelle Brown, y'all gotta come see me, and I'm ready to inspire each and every one of y'all, and I got something for y'all afterwards."
Yeah, yeah.
So, I was
Get
inspired.
ready.
I was inspired, and I took a
Yeah.
bold move. I bought his book, Talk is
Mhm,
Expensive, and I also kept trying to get near and figure out who he was. And
mhm.
after after we talked and I told him a little bit of my story, he poured into me. Um, and then I didn't even realize I was talking to the two chairs of NIAR, the National Youth Advocacy and Resiliency Conference.
Yeah.
And I was telling them about my plans with social work and how I wanted to do the get my clinical psychology degree, my research. So, two things happened. I didn't realize that Georgia Southern was a school that I had already researched was over this conference.
Oh,
I didn't know
wow.
I didn't know they were the chairs, but because they heard my story, because they heard my plans, my goals, and my excitement of my research that I was presenting and preparing to publish, I got invited
Uh,
to my research next year at the next year's conference. I was offered a scholarship, a graduate assistantship position on top of a scholarship to get my PsyD program when I got ready to do it. So I
mhm,
told at the last reception, the closing reception. And prior to that, we had like a little lunch and learn, chop it up, where we were pouring into the younger kid,
mhm,
Georgia Student Council. And I had said something to them that made them inspired. And I didn't know that they appreciated it so much until when Keith actually put them on the spot and said, I'm going to challenge each and one of you to speak about an adult who poured into you and inspired you. And two
mm.
young ladies called me out. I was like,
What?
wow. I was like, wow, yes, because they talked about how they felt because with school, how they don't really get breaks anymore in certain
Mhm,
grades. And I was like, maybe if you can get together with your peers and talk about what you guys want, if you guys are overwhelmed and just need a few moments to where y'all don't focus on schoolwork, y'all can listen to noise, white noise, music, or y'all can just take a moment to lay your heads down.
Yeah.
Advocate. Talk to your teachers. You never know what you can start by doing that.
Mhm.
I heard that again, I was like, "Wow."
Wow.
Shortly after, just
You
came
went
to
from advocating for yourself and now teaching others how to advocate for them.
yes, and then that's when Keith L. Brown invited me to a digital date night where I met you and
Mhm.
so many others.
Yeah.
And shortly after, unfortunately, I lost my niece, Jada West. She became
Mhm.
national news for the bullying in Villa Rica. And that
Wow.
kind of tore me apart. I didn't want to do anything, but Keith called me and it was like, I need you in this program. So you're gonna do this program. So
Right.
that's where a lot more of my confidence came into where now like Sequoia
Mhm.
emerging and I'm emerging as that speaker, as that advocate, as that trainer. And as I
Yes.
continue to go, like, I'm like, okay, my story hasn't stopped, but
Yes.
it took that moment where I lost my mom to find myself,
Mhm.
to understand that I am my own advocate and that as long as I love myself, I can do anything. And I want to make sure I
Yep.
inspire others
Ooh,
the same.
I love that. I love Yes, because even as a young child trying to understand life, what was happening around you, the fight was in you. You didn't give up, you didn't quit. You may have made some choices that could have destructed you, but it was in you to persevere and break through. And that's what I love about hearing your story. I love how your story it's empowering, it can encourage others, just like the 2 young girls that said right on the spot, you weren't even expecting it, but they said how you inspired them. And then right there, you taught them how to advocate for themselves. And I love that because to me, so many young people, I won't even say just young girls, but so many young people need to learn how to advocate for themselves, how to use their voice when there is no true advocate, adult advocate for them. And you touched on bullying, how you experienced it and how your niece went through it. And as an educator myself in the classroom, I see it a lot. Um, and never want to dismiss what is or is not bullying because anything that impacts the social, emotional aspects of a child where they don't feel safe or comfortable or they feel unsure, I believe it should be addressed. Time needs to be stopped to navigate and investigate what is happening, why it is happening, and what is a solution. So, um, kudos to your mom. Again, I said before, she was your advocate, but she took action when those young ladies were mistreating you. She didn't say, "Oh, just let it go," or anything. She said, "No, let's go. We're going to take some action." She put some things in place and then not just talking, but modeling to them what it looks like. And so many times with children trying to understand and process life or what's happening, um, just talking to them is not enough. We have to be about the action, the business of action, showing them, modeling to them, not just what they should be doing, but how to do it, giving them the tools and the skills to navigate in a healthy way. And it's just so many layers to your story, Sequoia. I thank you. Just,
And
just for sharing.
Imma be real, me and my wife had, in, we incorporated a nonprofit last year. We had to halt
Mm,
for reasons. However, we're bringing that back. Peaceful Pals Incorporated will be coming out soon. But
okay.
what we plan to do is not only get into the schools, but we want to pull the children out of schools. And we want to pull the bullies and the victims of bullying. And we want to kind of get them together and kind of make a
I love it.
peace and a truce and 'cause, the bullies that are bullying have things going on with them that's causing it, and the
Absolutely.
victims,
Absolutely.
if they don't get the help that they need, they're going to do
Mm-hmm.
something to themselves or be destructive to others.
Mm-hmm.
So, we want to do more work with them, whether it's tutoring, whether it's having like a rage room that we take them to, or have like a little boxing, teaching them how to martial arts, just in a way to build team building, self defense, but in a positive way, not a negative way, and other activities. And that's
Right.
something that I'll be working on really soon.
Mhm. Wow, yeah, I love that. Well, much success as you all continue to organize your nonprofit. But you have a book, you do
Yeah,
speaking engagements, and
you went out. I can't hear you.
our viewers what about the book, what that looks like, how they can get in touch with you for speaking engagements.
Okay, so I have written a memoir that's still in the works called From Labels to Legacy,
Mhm.
the life that marked me, made me. It is a short memoir about pieces of my life that I shared with you. A lot of it I did not put in the book, only because I have decided to conceal that as I've healed from it, but also to
Yeah.
protect family members that I still love, like my dad. We don't have
Mhm.
a close relationship anymore, but at the same time, I it's something that I don't want to reopen wounds. But
Absolutely.
there's a lot in there, but from the book, I want people to not see the labels that have labeled me throughout my life. I want people to understand that I am who I am because I decided to push through and advocate for myself and
Mhm.
realize my worth and understand how far Sequoia has went to where I am now, and how I'm loving the fact of being able to be there for others. And I want people who read it to understand that your story don't stop where you've been
That's right.
labeled, because we've
Hmm.
all been labeled in some kind
Yeah.
of way, whether
Yeah.
it bullies, or whether it's attention seeker, or whether it's defiant, whatever it is. I want people to push past those labels and look beyond the labels and create your own legacy based off of where you want to be in your life, and take charge of
Mhm.
your own life. And that's
Yeah.
where the book has led me. And I've been sitting on a book idea for a while, but it took our wonderful coach Keith L. Brown to
Yes.
believe in me enough to refer me to Purpose Pushers with Coach B and Coach Q, to where I actually wrote this, and I'm actually done with the writing part, but I'm at
Mhm.
the designing my book cover. I'm doing edits. I'm trying to make sure it's Sequoia.
Yes. Ooh.
And then building my platform as Sequoia Speaks. That has been exciting and challenging at the same time, because I
Mhm.
have a schedule outside of the videos, but I'm coming back.
Yeah.
People can really find me on multiple platforms. I am on Facebook, Sequoia Johnson. I'm also on Instagram, Sequoia Speaks or Sequoia Johnson. And the
Mhm.
same thing goes for TikTok on both platforms. My goal is to go from my main platforms of Sequoia Johnson, my main personal page, to
Yeah.
Sequoia Speaks navigating. However, I'm learning that sometimes you can reach a wide range of people from different areas, and it doesn't
That's
matter
true.
what. Just get
Mhm.
out there, do it, push it. And
Yeah.
people can reach out to me on those platforms. And also, you can reach out if you want me to speak at your organization, whether it's a foster care organization, business organization, school. I speak to everybody. Like Keith L. Brown said, "We're not local, we're global." And I am global.
I know that's right.
Global.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
um, they can contact me at sequoiaspeaks@gmail.com if they want to know
Awesome.
more.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Sequoia, I have one last question for you before we close. If you could sit beside the younger version of yourself, the girl who is surviving foster care, grief, and limiting labels, what would you say to her today?
For one, I would give her a hug, because, daggum girl, you went through it. But I would tell the younger version of me, "Just hang in there a little bit longer and
Mm,
push that fighter out. Put those boxing gloves on and fight through it."
yes, that's right.
Because what you're seeing the woman that you're seeing right here is you.
Mm. That's a lot to digest, but so true, so true. Sequoia, thank you so much. I know I've said it again. I keep saying thank you, but I appreciate you. I love you.
Love you too.
Always, nothing but success each and
Thank
every day for
you.
you and what it is that you are working on. So, everyone, this concludes this amazing episode with Sequoia Johnson of Sequoia Speaks. Check her out on social media, check out her literature, her memoir. You won't be disappointed. And remember, this is our time as women to reset. Reset. Take some time to reflect on who you are, what it is you desire, and in the process, remember, you can't do everything. Pace yourself. Hit the reset button because you are worthy. You are worth it. Take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually. And you can check out other episodes of the Hey Girl Hey podcast on YouTube and Spotify. And follow me on Instagram and Facebook as well at Hey Girl Hey podcast. And we will see you soon. Take care. Bye.